Hello viewers, welcome to another video. In today's task, we're gonna try to exploit another machine on HackTheBox called usage. So that's the name of the machine. Let's see some information about the machine. So usage is an easy Linux machine that features a block site vulnerable to SQL injection, which allows the administrator hash password to be dumped and cracked. So it leads to the admin panel where outdated Laravel module is abused to upload a PHP web shell to obtain a remote code execution. So that's how we get a foothold onto the machine. And then once we get the foothold, we find out that a plaintext credential is stored in a file that allows SSH access to another user. So we'll do a pivoting to another user, and then we'll see that this user can run a custom binary as root. So the binary, which is 7-zip, is leveraged to get a root shell because of the insecure way a call is made to the binary. So yeah, without much ado, let's go into the machine and then see how we can exploit this together. And also don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to get more of these videos. Your liking and subscribing is going to motivate me to make a lot more quality videos. Alright, so let's go into the machine. Our IP address is ready, so we'll start with our nmap scan as always. So let's do sudo nmap tag scv tag on, saving our nmap output as nmap, and then let's do t4, and then we see, let's look for verbose output, and then we can paste the IP of our machine, and they should be fine to go. All right, so let's see. So we are already seeing ports here. We have port 80 and port 22. So let's see, port 22, which is OpenSSH, and then port 80 HTTP running Nginx on Ubuntu. All right, so let's see what we have here. We have these methods, and then did not follow redirect to, so it's trying to redirect us to this particular vhost or subdomain. So what we do is we can copy this and add it to our host file. Let's do that. I'll do sudo sublime etc. Okay, let's do that, and then 10 11 18, I think that's the IP of the machine. All right, so we have our domain added to our host file. Okay, so this should be fine. We can clear our screen and then try to access the sites on the port 80. So we do HTTP usage, so instead of the IP we just say usage.htb, and then we have access to the site. We can poke around, look around. So here we have a login. We are not registered, so we cannot log in. So we have a registration functionality, so we can go and do a register. So let's register as a new user. So I'll say test, and then my email is going to be test@test.com, and then my password is going to be test. All right, because probably they may be implementing some password length, so if your password is not long enough, it may not register. So let's see if we were able to register. All right, so I think we are registered. So our email was test@test.com, and then our password was test. Okay, let's see if this will allow us to log in. All right, so we've been able to log in successfully, and then looking around, so we just have it's like a blog, and then we have unraveling significance. So there's nothing here. So what we do is we go back. So this takes us to the dashboard if we log in. So let's go back to the home page. All right, Okay, so let's log out. All right, so if we log out, we see that we have an admin panel as well. So if we hover on the admin, you look at the status bar, you can see we have a subdomain called admin.usage.8tb. We can try to visit this particular subdomain. You see that we have admin.usage.8tb. We cannot access it because it's not in our host file, so we quickly add that to our host file and come back and try to access the admin panel. All right, so okay, now that I've added it to our host file, we can access it. So we can try admin. All right, so this doesn't allow us to log in. Okay, so we can brute force this. It won't work. We can try other techniques, trying to do SQL injection. It's not going to work. So we have to find our admin credentials in another way. All right, so we go back to the home page. Okay, so the home page takes you to a login form, and then down here we can see a reset password functionality. So mostly when these functionalities are there, they can quite easily be abused. So let's try to go to the reset function. So we want to reset. So if you put in anything that doesn't exist, let's see what the response will be. So it's like our email address does not match our records, so it's doing some query from probably a backend database, and then it's not finding our information in the database. All right, so if we do abc@abc.com, so let's probably say a proper email format. Let's say still the email doesn't exist. And then if we try the email that we registered with, so it was test@test.com, if I remember. All right, so you can see that we have emailed your password reset link. So they've sent us a password reset link if this particular email actually exists. All right, so that is what it's saying. So since it's trying to, we assume it's querying information from the database, we can try to see if we can do any SQL injections here. So if we'll put a single quote, and then we see this particular error. So if you see an error like this 500 server error, this shows that there's a possible vulnerability of SQL injection. All right, so this tells us that particular password reset functionality is vulnerable to SQL injection. So we can go back there, but now instead of sending the password reset request, we're going to intercept the request. All right, so we can do the interception with BEP suite. So we put our interception on, and then our proxy, we go through our browser and go through the BEP proxy, and then abc@abc.com. So now we are sending the request. It's going to be intercepted by BEP suite. All right, so our request has been intercepted, and we can send this to repeater if you want to further modify the request before we send. So if we send, yeah, it redirects us to the page, the password reset page, and then it shows the information, like the message, whether our details have been sent or not. All right, so what we'll do is, this is where we tested for the SQL injection vulnerability, and then we had the error. So we had the server error here. So we had the 500 server error. If you come down, you see the 500 server error. All right, so this is the field which is vulnerable to the SQL injection. All right, so the email field is where the vulnerability lies. So what we'll do is we'll just try and copy this file, because we are going to use SQL map. So copy file, so let's put it on desktop. So we can call it requests. Let's say request.rec. All right, so that's what we're gonna call it. All right, so and then we can use our SQL map. So I don't know if I need to specify sudo, but let's try without sudo. SQL map tag R, and then our request file, I think we stored it on desktop, and then it was requests.rec. all right, and then we can specify the risk to be 5, and then the level to be 3. What else can we specify? Let's see. Okay, we can also specify p, so that I think this is the parameter that we are trying to test the SQL injection on, which is, I think it was called email parameter. Okay, I'm putting email without quotes. If it doesn't work, then we'll have to put it in quotes. All right, and then yeah, so let's see, let's try this. Okay, so your SQL version is outdated. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pause this video, and then I will update my SQL and then come back. Okay, so yeah, I think it wasn't even about my version being outdated. My outdated version just gave me a warning, so I think it had to do with some of my parameters, the options I chose. So for the risk, I think the highest it can go is risk of 3, and then I think the level that goes up to 5. So let's try this again and see. All right, so I'll close this, and then I'm going to put that tag badge so that it doesn't ask me to input yes or no, or else it's checking the SQL injection. All right, so let's do this. So you see that it's just selecting the options as it goes without my intervention. So I think it's taking time. I'm just gonna quit. All right, and try to speed it up because I want this thing to go faster. So I can specify thread. Is it thread or threads? Okay, let's say threads. Let's add 10, and then that tag DBS. So I want to see the database databases if actually it's vulnerable. So we are waiting to see the output. I can pause the video as well if it's taking time. Okay, so the SQL map scan is complete. It took about 3 minutes. 3 minutes 1 second to run, and then it came back with our databases. So available databases, we have information schema, performance schema. So these are default MySQL databases. All right, so I think this is the big database of interest, so we try to access this particular database. So we go back to our command, so we select a database, and then we are trying to look for tables in the database. All right, so it's scanning for the tables again, so I'll pause and return when the tables are ready. Okay, so we got some tables back. Also took about 1 minute 55 seconds to scan for the tables. We have admin menu, so we have all these tables, and then we have users table. So I think the users table will contain information for registered users. All right, but we are interested in this admin users table. Okay, so this is the table that we want, because that might contain information about the admin users or users with administrative privileges. So let's target that. So the table we are targeting admin users table, and then I think we can just dump the information from the admin users table. Okay, let's see if we can increase the thread, if the thread can be increased to 20. I don't know what's the maximum thread, but let's try with 20 so that it becomes faster. So let's dump this information. Okay, the maximum number of used threads, so the maximum number of thread is 10, so we can do more than 10 threads. Okay, that's fine. Just come back to 10, and then we try to dump the information from the table. Okay, so here I'm going to pause again and return when the information is ready. Okay, so we have the information dumped. So we've dumped the administrator's username and password. So this is the password, even though it's not properly formatted here, but this is the information that we need. So we have found the username and then the password. That's what we are looking for. So let's try to take some notes. Sublime usage note.txt. So this is where I'm gonna put some notes about this machine. All right, so I can copy the username, so the username and the hash. All right, so this is the admin username and hash. Okay, so I've got this. So what I will do is I'll try to crack this hash. This is a bcrypt hash. So let me say admin hash. Okay, so the admin hash, I'm gonna put it in here and try to see if I can crack it with John. Okay, so let's clear our screen. So I will invoke John and then word lists. So I'll use user share word lists rock you, and then I'll put a hash and see if John will be able to crack this for us. Okay, so I think it's admin hash instead. It's admin hash, not hash. All right, so we are waiting for the cracking process. Let's see if it comes up. It comes back with something. I'll pause again if it's taking time. Okay, so it took 15 seconds. It didn't take much time to crack the admin password. So we have the credentials here for admin. Okay, so let's go back here. So we have the admin credentials. So this is the user, and then this is the password. So we go back to our portal, try to access the admin page. So the user is admin, and then password was whatever one. Here, whatever one, and then we log in. If everything is correct, it should authenticate us. Okay, so now we have access to the admin panel. So we can look around here. We have some information about the environment and then the dependencies. So this is PHP version 8, Laravel version, but this is what we have to look at, the Laravel admin version, which is 1.8.18. We can copy this particular version and check if it's vulnerable to any exploits. So let's do that. Exploits, let's look for exploits. Okay, so this first hit is a post by Snake. All right, so here it tells us information about this is arbitrary code execution. Okay, so it's an administrative interface builder for Laravel. Affected version of this package are vulnerable to arbitrary code execution due to unrestricted file upload. So this is a file upload vulnerability. But let's see, they have a POC. Let's look at the POC, how we can execute the POC. So it had a CVE of 2023-24 249. All right, and then here it shows how we can actually exploit this particular vulnerability. All right, so this is the upload functionality. That's what we are going to use. So they intercept and then they change the file name, like the extension. All right, so upload a JPEG after successful. So we are gonna do same. Let's try that ourselves. Okay, so we go back to, let's go through BEP. We go back to our admin page, and then dashboard, admin. Okay, so we have some admin functionalities here, but I also observed that when you come to admin settings, you can find the information here, and then how the possibility to upload a file. All right, okay, so here we can browse for a file. So if we try to upload this file, let's see what we get. So invalid, only image files are supported. Okay, so it only supports image files, so we cannot upload any arbitrarily file that has potential to execute code. Okay, but we can try to bypass this. So we can let's create a file to upload. Okay, because it only handles image files, we are trying to upload a file that is an image. But first, let's create a file called, because we are going to use this file for a reverse shell, so let's call this file reverse.php. This is the file that we are going to upload. This is the file we're going to use to get the PHP. So we just put a PHP reverse shell here. Okay. So this is what we are going to do. So we call, okay, I think I can just invoke a reverse shell. Okay, def TCP, and then 10.10. So let's see the IP address of our, where we're going to receive our reverse shell from. So IPA, and then grep times 0. We're trying to see our VPN interface IP, so it's 150. And then we come here, so this is where we are going to listen for the reverse connection. We can use 777. Let's use that. So it's 14.150. That's the IP of our VPN interface, and then the reverse ports is port 777, and that's what we are using. All right, so this is going to be our payload to give us the reverse shell. Okay, so what do we do? This is PHP. So if you try to upload this payload, it's not going to work. Let's try it. Let's try to upload where is the location? Okay, okay, so we have, yeah, so it should be here. Usage. Okay, good. So we have our file here in usage. Let's try to upload. So you see that we are unable to upload this file. So we can trick it to think it's an image file. We just copy our file and then we rename it as a PNG. All right, so if we list, we have two files here. So this is the PNG. It's now going to think this file is an image file. Let's try again. So we browse. We browse back, and then okay, see that it's been able to accept our file. Okay, but we're not going to send it. We are going to intercept this file and then change the properties. Okay, so let's go to proxy intercepts, come back here and then submit. Okay, so you can send this request to repeater, and then instead of uploading, we're gonna change the extension here to PHP. Our payload is here, and we send. If everything is all right, we should get a reverse shell. Okay, so the page expired. So we have to always do this in a quick manner or a fast manner. I think there are some cleanup scripts running in the background, so if you delay a bit, then it resets. So let's come back and then try the step again. So we upload our image and then we intercept it. Let's intercept. Okay, so it's intercepted. We send it to repeater. Okay, we change the extension to PHP, and then we send. All right, so after sending, it's redirecting us to this auth settings page. So let's come back to, so we can see that we have something here that gives us the chance to download, or yeah. So if we look at the status bar, you can try to open this in a new tab. So it's not able to open because of the PNG, but we change it to PHP. So let's do that. PHP. Okay, so it's taking time, it's delaying, so this is a sign that we might have our reverse shell back. Yeah, so the code executed. Fantastic. All right, so let's export term equals to xterm. I always want a chance to be able to clear my screen. Okay, and then what can we do also? We can try to stabilize our shell. Okay, so I will do Python 3 taxi import pty dot spawn and then we have bin bash. Okay, all right, this is fine. So we do Control Z, stty raw minus echo fg. Okay, and also I always like to alias my clear to CLS, because on Windows, if you want to clear screen, CLS, it clears it. So I always want to use the same shortcuts on Linux machines. Okay, so this is done. So if we find so we can check who we are. Who am I? Okay, so we are in as the user dash. So if you do ID, we are dash. Okay, so if we look in the folder of dash, we should be able to see our user file, our user flag. So we can do that. So we can cut home dash and then user.txt. I'm sure dash user flag will be there. So we have our user flag. So let's flags. So we have our user flag gotten. So we are looking for our can type our root flag. So we're looking for our root flag next. Okay, so how do we get our root flag? Let's go to the users directory. So if we go to dashes directory, if we do ls-l, we see some files in here. Okay, and if we do ls-la to see hidden files as well, you can see that we have this monet.id, monet.rc. so this is a utility that monitors files and then processes and folders. We can check what that is. So let's come back to our system and then let's see monet. Is it, I think let's see which monet. Yeah, but yeah, I think on my main machine I don't have it. Let's see. Okay, it's not, it's just on their system. So we can check what it does. We can do man monet. But first of all, I think we can look for a stable shell, because we see SSH folder, so we can get private keys. So let's cut SSH ID RSA. Okay, so this is our ID RSA. Okay, what I'll do is I'll just ignore this ID RSA for now. We can try that later. We'll do that later. Okay, so the monet, I was trying to get information about the monet. So if you read what it does, oh, that's a whole lot of information. I think this. All right, so the monet, it just monitors is a utility that monitors files, processes, folders, and all that. You can see that the man page is very lengthy, it's very long, so it does a lot. And then the monet RC is a configuration file that you can modify to change settings for the monet program, just like a bash RC. So this is monet RC, and then checking the content, we could see that it has some credentials saved. So let's cut .monet RC. So we can see that over here we have this information saved, so that this particular person can make changes to files and processes or monitor them. All right, so we don't know who this password is for, but we're already in the system as the user dash. So when we try to check users in our home directory, we see that we have two users. So one user is dash, the other user is Zender. So probably we can try the password for Zender. We can try to switch user into Zender, or instead of switching to, we can SSH, try SSH. So SSH Zender at usage.atb. all right, so we are assuming the password we just got is for Xender. If that's the case, we'll be able to pivot into the machine as the user Xender. Okay, so we're right. So now we are the user Xender. So that was Xender's password. So we can check the sudo capabilities of Xender with sudo tag L. So we can see that the user Xender will be able to run this particular program usage management as root or any other user. Okay, so we are going to try and use that to escalate our privilege. So let's copy this information. Okay, and we can try to know what the file does. Okay, so let's see, let's just try to run it as a normal user. Okay, so it gives us some options. So project backup my MySQL, reset how do you call it, reset password. Okay, so we can choose any option. So if you choose option 1, let's see what it's going to do. So it will do something. All right, it will try to archive some stuff. All right, because the backup is going to archive and then put it in a particular folder. All right, so that is the capability of the file of the program. All right, so we can do file, try to see what file it is. So this is an ELF file, so linkable file. Okay, so this is a normal Linux executable. Okay, so we can try to see the content. If we cut the content, let's see how it will look like. So the content is not very readable. You can see some text, we can see, and then this file you can decompile it with a decompiler to see what the actual contents are, but I don't think we'll need the compiler in this case. We can see that we are having a reference to var HTML. Okay, and then we also have something like a command being run. Okay, so this is one way. We can also use the strings. Okay, we can use strings. We can stringify, we can string this program. You can send it, you can pass it by string, and then we'll see the strings that are in the program. Okay, all right, so these are the important parts of the string that we are going to use. So we copy this back here, so we can see it's making reference to our web root, which was var www HTML. So it's making a reference to our web root, and then it's trying to archive some files. So that's the backup process. So when you do the backup, it's going to use 7ZA, which is a standalone version of 7-zip. All right, and then it does the backup, stores the backup in var backup. Okay, and then yeah, that's what it does. So what can we do? So it does this as a user root. So we ask ourselves, how can we abuse this, or how can we use this to escalate our privilege? Okay, so if we search for, because now we are trying to escalate our privilege root. Okay, so if we search for 7ZA privilege escalation, let's see what we'll get. Okay, so it gives you a reference to a HackTheBox. So let's open HackTheBox and see what it will suggest. So this is okay. So we have 7zip here, 7z here. Okay, so if you try to read in 7z, even using dash before the star means that the following input cannot be treated as parameters. So just file part in this case. This English is not very clear. All right, you can use an arbitrary error to read a file. Okay, so if a command like this is run, so if you run a command like this, so it's a similar command they were using in the backup. Okay, so they want to back up some files to this particular location, and then it will be expecting an input from this side because you're using a wildcard. So here is how we can abuse it. Okay, and you can create a file in the folder where this is being executed. So what we're going to do is we'll create a file in the folder where the backup is going to take place. All right, and then the file is going to be named at the file name. Okay, and then you just create a symbolic link to that particular file, and then it can read whatever file you are referencing in the symlink. Okay, so let's do something similar. Okay, so in our case, we are assuming the backup is going to take place in this particular directory because that's where it went to. So we assume that it will cd into this directory before it will run the backup. Okay, so let's also cd there. Let's cd into the www.atmn directory. Let's list. So we assume these are the files. These are the files. So this is like the web pages that's going to be archived, okay, or backed up. Okay, so what we do is we create a file. So I'll just I'll call it we'll call the file at abc. Okay, so if we list, we see that our file is here, and now we'll create a symbolic link. So we'll do ls-s symbolic link to a file that we want to read. Okay, so we want to read the root private keys, which is always stored in root.ssh, and then I think it's id rsa. Okay, and then we want to link it to a file called abc. Okay, what is happening? Let's see. Okay, it's here. Okay, so it's ln, it's not ls, so we are creating a symlink. Okay, so I think that's why we had a problem. Okay, good. So if we do ls-la, we can see that we are creating a symlink. All right, so if you try to access abc, it's going to open id rsa. Okay, so if you go back to what they say here, so the @ symbol, the @ symbol is going to tell the 7z program that that particular file, the abc file, will contain the directories or the files that they want to archive. Okay, so if it tries to open it and it doesn't contain file, then it will just show you the contents of the file. In this case, which is going to show as the content of the id rsa. So basically that's what it does. Okay, so yeah, I think that is done. Then we can now come and run the file as root. Okay, so we'll just say sudo, not this, I think it's usage management. Yeah, it's usage management. Where is it? Okay, sudo usage management, and then we'll select the first option that's going to be doing the backup, and let's see what happens. The backup is taking some time, 69%. I'm thinking of trying to pause the video and come back when the backup is okay. So the backup process finished, but it did not return the content of the root private keys. I don't know why. Let's check our okay. We'll just try it again. All right, so I think our file was deleted, or we can try to we'll try it again one more time. If it doesn't, we'll try to access a different file. All right, so I'm going to remove ABC, and then we can try to include a file that we are very sure will be available. Okay, so let me clear this. Touch ABC. So our ABC is here, and then we link etc pass WD to ABC. Okay, and then we can now run our let me just run it. Sudo usage management here, and then we select the first option. Let's see what happens this time around. Okay, I'm gonna pause the video again. Okay, you see that this one we've been able to get the content of etc pass WD. So I don't know why we are not getting the content. So let's try the content for root again. So let's clear this ls. So let's remove ABC. Okay, and then let's create a test. So this time around we're going to use test. Okay, and then we'll link root.ssh and then id underscore rsa. Okay, so we have what come on, remove id. So we are touching our tests. Let's see if we have tests. Okay, so we have it in here. Then let's create the link roots ssh id underscore rsa and then tests. Okay, alright, so we have it here, and now we can try to do our sudo usage management, and we select the first option. Yeah, so it looks as if it's working now. We should be able to get our root private keys. First time around, I don't know what I did wrong. I have to look at the video again, see what I did wrong. So I'm pausing it. Okay, so it's done. So we've been able to get the content of the root private keys. We'll copy it and then we'll put it in the file. So let's see. So I'm going to call So I'm gonna put it in a file called root priv. So I'm gonna call it root priv for root private keys. Okay, and then I'll try to delete this content. Okay, so I have the content deleted and I save, and then I'll change the permission. So I'll do chmod 600 and then root priv keys. Alright, and now I can be able to SSH as root if everything is alright, everything works. So root at usage.atb. Yeah, so we're supposed to add our key, we didn't, so we'll go back. We just need to add our key, which is root priv. Okay, all right, so that's it. We'll be able to get root. If we do who am I, we are root id root. If we list, we see root.text, so that's our root flag. So we can cut our root flag, and that is the machine. We have been able to exploit it. We got root. Okay, you can try to submit our flags. Let's go back to HackTheBox. So this is our user flag and this is our root flag. Alright, so that's the end of the machine. Thank you for watching, and if you liked the video, try to subscribe for more content, and also don't forget to like. Alright, see you again in another video.